Today on the Brand Aid podcast.
Once they're your customer, you want to create a community. You want to create long-term customers, which means you still contact them even if you, especially if you don't have anything to sell them, because you want to continue to provide value. You want to continue to help them move to the next step of working with you.
Welcome to Brand Aid, where we answer the question, what does it take to launch your own brand revolution, create evolution, and who are the people that help you foster connection, community, contribution, and currency for a brand built to last? You will also meet brands changing the world and the lives of those they serve. Here's your host, Cheryl Hodgson.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cheryl Hodgson. Welcome to another episode of the Brand Aid podcast. Today's guest, Kimberly Whitecamp, is going to share with you and me the secrets to successful copywriting and how it can make a difference in your business. Kimberly is the owner of the Audience Converter business, and she also is the host of two fabulous podcasts, which will also help bring you further along in your knowledge about copywriting. Kimberly, could you share with us the secret and what role copywriting plays in great marketing?
Absolutely. So first, I want to let everyone know that when we're talking about copywriting, it's not what Cheryl does, which is with the law, but it's with the words. So it's Copywriting, which is basically any words that are going to appear in your marketing. That's copywriting. In general, copywriting is kind of the driver. It kind of represents what your company stands for, the way you write, the way you say things, the way you relate to your audience. All of those are really important, and that's part of creating really strong copywriting, which is making sure that people understand your message and then understand what action to take.
Well, and Kimberly, I think copywriting is one of the most misunderstood, am I wrong? And also one of the more challenging aspects of launching an online business or a business offline as well, just building a website and writing great copy for your website. So tell me, you have created your own method that you call the Audience Converter method. Could you share with us a bit more about that and how it really works?
Absolutely. So with the audience conversion method, basically it's another process that I use to kind of really create those really strong marketing campaigns. So when I first got started copywriting, it was the golden age, if you will, of online business and entrepreneurs. Everyone seemed to be making $1.5 million in their sleep or something. And because of that, and because of the messaging people saw, marketing became kind of like this dirty word to people. They thought, they had to be like a used car salesman to do marketing properly. And that's definitely not what I stand for. I'm all about marketing that is beneficial to the business and also beneficial to your customers. So for me, the key to any great marketing campaign is help. How can I help you? And that is at the core of every marketing campaign that I create, which is used with the audience conversion method. So it's all about, just knowing who exactly you're speaking with, what exactly their top concerns are, seeing how easy it is for people to navigate that process through your marketing or through your funnels or basically any interaction they have with your company, and then you creating the marketing materials that fill in those blanks. It's the audience, the ask, the audit, and the answer. And that's the audience conversion method in a nutshell, basically. And what it does is it just kind of guides people through the process of making sure that your marketing campaign doesn't have any gaps.
Well, I'd like to unpack that a little more because there's a lot there, some nuggets in there. The first of which you mentioned is the helping. And I noticed that you mentioned in your bio something about helping is your secret. And so my question is, tell me more about how helping is the secret sauce.
Helping is the secret sauce for your marketing online. And I will tell you why. Because more and more people have this magical device in their pockets that basically is connected to all of the encyclopedias and all of the libraries of the world. And you can ask it questions and it will give you answers. And that device, of course, is your smartphone. So the number of searches being conducted by voice which means it's in a natural way. People are asking a specific question they want help with. That number is rising. And so, of course, Google has decided, well, we're going to give more precedence. We're going to give extra power, extra juice, if you will, to websites that are providing content that is helpful, it's useful, and it's relevant depending on the questions people are asking. So when I look at how can I help you, it's basically like, okay, who is your audience? Who are the people you can best help? And what are the questions they're picking up their phone and asking? Like, how many games did the Mets win this year, right? That's a question. It's a natural language question. It's not strange. You know how early days of the internet, you had to put in like the phrase and in parentheses and a plus sign. Yeah, you don't have to do that anymore, right? You can just put in a question. So when you create marketing materials that are helpful, useful, relevant, valuable to your customers, then those are what's going to float to the top. And that's what other people are going to recommend because they had a specific question. They already want help. So why not create the material that's going to help them?
Well, I have a good example of that because recently I was in a shopping mall and I went into a store because I saw these fabulous slippers in the window, which were so extraordinary. I'd never seen anything like them. And of course, I ended up having a lengthy chat with the owner of the store, who happened to also be the designer of all the clothes in the store.
Oh, fantastic.
And he was sharing with me, well, let me show you. You just go onto YouTube and ask a question. And here are all these other attorneys who are young attorneys who are shooting videos that answer the question that someone types into the Google search bar. So I think that's sort of an example of what you're talking about, right? And I find myself more and more going, how do I do this? And I go to YouTube and type it in because there's a helpful video on just about anything in the world now.
Absolutely. And that's the other part, right? It's not just voice search, it's also video search. So part of it is, people want the how-tos, essentially. Most people who go to the internet, they have an intent. That's what's different between new advertising online and old advertising before the internet. Was before, you kind of had to hope that you were reaching somebody at the right time when they were thinking about whatever the problem was. But now, I got a question. You saw those great shoes and maybe you were like, I wonder how I cleaned these slippers. Well, then you went and you would ask Google, right? And before, it would be like you might get a catalog in the mail that talks about this great cleaning solution for slippers, but that's only going to be relevant to you if you literally just bought those slippers. Whereas now, the way interaction goes between companies and the individuals that they want to help is very much on a how-to level. These are people who are already searching for what you do. They just don't necessarily know about you and your solution. So helping them, giving them that help in the very beginning will keep them engaged with you throughout the process.
Well, which I think is so fascinating because, this is the name of my podcast is Brand Aid, right? And I'm the Brand Aid. And one of my reasons for launching my podcast is that there's so many aspects of building a brand. It's just not one thing. It's not just a beautiful logo. It's not just the legal protection I help people with. There's many, many aspects, of how do you get your messaging out. And great copywriting turns out is one of the most important things that goes into that mix in building a brand. So I have a question because one of the things that, and this is a bit personal, I'll share this quickly, that, for me, having the courage to actually launch a podcast or offer a training was a slow burn for me because while I was a good lawyer, I was a behind the scenes person, right? I didn't necessarily see myself as speaking out in the world, right? And so now I have this little message about finding your voice and sharing it with the world. So when you are doing great copywriting or when you're copywriting for a client or providing copy, are you considering the voice of the brand? Or are you considering the voice of the customer or both?
Oh, that is an excellent question. So that is one of the top complaints I have heard from clients who've worked with other copywriters in the past. That is a really high top concern is, I hired a copywriter. They did something for me. They said it was going to work great, but it didn't sound like me, right? And that is such a key part of your marketing because it has to sound like you. When people meet you in person, when they interact with your company day after day, month after month, when they, look at customer service, when they look at your product, all of that has to be in accordance with your guidelines, with your brand, right? Your brand needs to be consistent. So when you hire someone who doesn't write in your voice, right? Or my favorite is when they'll hire somebody to create these really long, great, involved, really strong marketing campaigns, but they don't change the copy on the confirmation email that says, yes, I want to be on your list. Which that's like the first thing people are going to see. They saw this great landing page, which is basically just a dedicated web page to offer you something like a free download. So they saw this great thing and they're really excited about what they're going to get. And the next message you get is, we want to make sure you really want this. Please confirm you want to be on our list. But they stick with what we call boilerplate copy, which is whatever's provided by the software company. So, their email company says, please click below to confirm your subscription. And that's all it is. So suddenly there's a break in the brand, right? There's a break in the message. There's a break in the experience. And people are like, well, if they can't even change this, is this really what I thought it was going to be? And it creates a lot of distrust. So it's incredibly important to be able to write in someone's voice. And so there are two parts. There's the voice of the company or the voice of the guru or, the brand voice. And then there's the voice of customer. And what I've done actually is I've been trained to write in the voice of other people. So I have gone through this training with one of the best people who wrote for a bunch of entrepreneurs. She was known as like the mother of two who became the brand voice behind male gurus in the entrepreneur space, right? But, it's so important. It's such a key part of writing really great copy that I went ahead and did the training on how to write in someone else's voice. But then for voice of customer, that's really important as well, because for a lot of entrepreneurs, we're so close to what we're doing that we use words that other people don't necessarily understand, or we get so excited about what we do, we almost forget what our audience does or doesn't know. So voice of customer is basically making sure that the language you use are terms your customer is using, right? So if somebody is looking for help with trademarking, do they know the term trademark, or are they looking for something like, how can I protect my brand name? Or are they doing a search for, how do you get a trademark, right?
Yes,
so making
exactly.
making sure that the language you use matches who you are, matches, the brand guidelines, but then also is using terms and language and copy that matches what customers are actually searching for.
Well, and I think the legal profession is a great one to pick on, because I've been blogging for almost 10 years. And it's embarrassing to say, when I go back and I look at, before I even had a blog, I had a newsletter. And I would send out this newsletter, and I was writing in all this legal babble. I call it legal babble, not legal ease, because there's nothing easy about it, for the client. And it's one of my biggest reasons that I, number one, have written the book I've written, and that I have been blogging the way I have. Number one, personally, it forced me to get better at that. And it was not easy, because, part of going to law school is it kind of takes all your creativity out of you. It's like,
well, you're still plenty creative, Cheryl.
Well, I'm trying, but it's been a big struggle to get back to being who I was, because I had to adopt this, this is, and then you mimic, you're in that environment, right? Not only law school, but you work in law firms, and you start to mimic everything you see, even on a subconscious level. But I want to pick up on what you just said a moment ago about when you saw that inconsistency in the thank you page or the confirmation page, that it was a break in the brand, because that ties into something I call the brand experience, right? And I think, so the copywriting is part of helping create a consistent experience, right, of what the brand is about.
Absolutely. And it's, when learning about how to write in other people's voices, there's like 7 stereotypes or archetypes, if you will. And, it's about how people explain information, right? Is the way this person relates to their audience kind of like this is a teacher, this is what you do, this is how you're going to do it, and that's the way they communicate? Or is it more like a parent saying, these are the things I've done wrong in the past, I don't want you to do them, so I'm going to share my story with you, right? Or there's also another voice type, which it's like, I don't know if this is going to work or not. I'm going to take you on the journey as we go through this together and share with you the experience. So those are three different ways of talking about the same thing. It could be how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? The parent's going to say, make sure to keep the knife far away from your fingertips so you don't scrape yourself, right? The teacher's going to say, what you do is first you get out the bread, then you put on the peanut butter. And the person who's like, I'm not sure if this is going to work, is going to say, well, I want to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but I didn't have a knife, so let's see if a spoon will work. And I'm going to tell you my story about using a spoon to spread the peanut butter and the jelly, right? So those are three different ways of explaining the exact same situation, but they're in different voices. And that's
fantastic. I just love it.
And that is exactly what I'm talking about when making sure that your copy is consistent and matches your brand across every single thing you create.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And then, so can great copy help a brand create a unique selling position?
So unique selling position is part of your copy. You want to make sure that you highlight that unique selling position in your copy. Copy can be used to kind of give a different perspective of something, but you're still talking about the same thing, right? Your unique selling proposition, unique selling position, your USP, as we call it in the marketing world, is all about what makes you different, right? Because, for example, talking to a lawyer, so we'll use a lawyer, right? If I want to get copyright protection, which is the COPYRIGHT that we're talking about.
Hopefully our audience will know that. That may have to be the title of your episode. Copyright, not copyright.
Well, and you know what? Half the time I don't even use the word copywriter when talking about what I do, because people think that means I'm a legal professional. And I'm like, no, I didn't go to law school.
And what do you use? What term do you use?
My introduction is kind of it's from a USP perspective. It's, people say, oh, what do you do? Oh, those emails you get from companies that let you know about new things are going on. I write those. That's one way I can introduce it. Or I'll say, I help entrepreneurs create great messages that keep getting open from their clients to create long-term customers. And they'll be like, wait, what does that mean? I want to hear more about that, right? So I avoid using the word copywriting because it's very much a marketing term, which goes back to, voice of customer and voice of the brand, making sure that the words you use match what they're looking for or what they understand.
Oh, good. Well, then I may have to have you help me find a new word for the word copyright.
Well, I think you got it down, right? With the brand revolution, protect, right? You've got those three words, and protect is one of them. And that's the big one. How do you protect your brand? That's what you do. You help entrepreneurs protect their brand. And the way you do it is through legal trademarks, but that's not important. You're protecting their brand.
Well, I want to go back to what you said, because you had three. I actually have three other words too: select, secure, sustain. Right. I've gotten into this whole alliteration thing. I want to back up, because when you were describing your method, you used three words and we went right by them. And I wanted to come back to those. What were they?
Oh, actually it's four. So there's four parts to the process for the audience conversion method. It's audience, ask, audit, answer.
Okay. Could you run through those in a little more detail?
Not too much detail. Yeah, I can do a little more detail. No problem.
A little bit. Well, just a little. A teaser.
Of the things, I used to write. Now I focus on entrepreneurs, but for quite a while I wrote for a lot of software companies, and I would ask them, okay, so who's your ideal buyer? That's a really common question. People will ask in marketing, who's your ideal buyer, or who's your ideal customer, your ideal client? Or, what is your avatar? I don't like the word avatar.
I don't either.
What is your avatar? And inevitably, the answer I would get would be, oh, well, we serve hotels that have over 200 rooms and an annual revenue of $1 million. And I would say, okay, so here's the problem with your answer. a hotel, a building that says the word hotel on it, is not going to read anything you write. It's not going to read your messages. It's not going to read your emails. It's not going to answer the phone. A person is doing that. So I want to talk about who your audience is. Who are the many people in the group that you're going to be speaking to that you're actually going to help? And that kind of help people kind of change their perspective, because a lot of people have this idea of my ideal buyer is, a company that does this, or a person who works for a company that does this. And the reality is that when talking, people buy from people. People buy from people they like.
Absolutely.
And that goes into making sure that you're speaking to the right audience. So, and the reason I use the word audience instead of avatar is because there's not just one. Most of the time, you're not going to serve just one person, but you are going to serve 2 or 3 different types of people. So, let's talk about people who are looking for trademark help. Maybe you are talking to entrepreneurs who are bootstrapping. That's a specific type of audience member. Maybe you're talking to a larger brand who already has the basics done but needs to talk about more in-depth protection. That's another part, right?
Absolutely.
Or maybe you're talking to a big corporation who needs to do all of their renewals. How do they do that? Okay, that's the third member of your audience. All of them are coming to you for the exact same service, but the information they need, the information they already have, and the approach that they're going to want to take are very, very different. So first, you need to define who is your audience. What members of your audience do you have? So that's audience.
Yeah, no, that's fabulous. It's really profound, actually.
And then once you have your audience members, I recommend people start with 2 to 3, right? Just do 2 to 3. And people are like, oh, well, that's too narrow. I can help everyone. And I said, yes, but the more you help everyone, the more generalized your message is. And then you can't really have that connection when someone picks up a smartphone and asks that very specific question. So ask is part 2. What are those people asking? But we have 3 different audience members. So they might have the same 3 top concerns, but the question they ask for that top concern is very different, right? What is the first step to getting a trademark? Might be the entrepreneur who's just starting out. And, the next one is what steps do I need to take to really solidify my brand protection? They may not be asking it in that exact way, but that's like that second audience member, right? So first you have your audience, and you have to define that first, because the next step is ask. What are they asking? And you have to know who you're talking with first before you can figure out what they're asking. And the third part is audit, which most of us, we hear the word audit and we think of a little guy from the IRS. He's in a boring suit and he's going to talk to you about your taxes, which no one likes. But what I'm talking about is going through your marketing as if you were a member of your audience. How easy is it to get from point A to B? Can you find those asks? Can you find those questions in your marketing? Are there gaps between what they need to know at stage 1 and what they need to know at stage 4? Is it easy to get to there, or is there something that you need to fill in the blanks? And then the last part is answer. Create the marketing that answers those top questions that you don't already have.
I think that is so fabulous, and I hope the audience can take this in and go back and really focus on it, because I had a fabulous interview with a legend in marketing named Brian Kurtz a few weeks ago.
Oh, yes, I know Brian Kurtz.
And Brian Kurtz pointed out something that I really captured my attention, and it goes directly to what you said about the audience. And it captured my attention because it's a pet peeve of mine as a consumer, is that if you're speaking, once somebody becomes a customer, don't continue speaking to them with emails that are treating them like a prospect.
Yes.
And I'm going to give an example, and they will remain nameless, but I've tried subscribing to their financial entry-level product, not once, but twice. And both times I've paid for an entire year, and then I've deleted them and shut them off because they won't leave me alone. They don't ever do anything to acknowledge that I'm a customer. All they do is send me more marketing materials to be on more webinars, to buy $5,000 packages or $3,000 a year packages, which I'm not interested in. But they're doing nothing to nurture me as an existing customer at the product that I bought into. And
Yep.
it's like, how are people not noticing this? I find it annoying.
And, that is a common situation for a lot of people, actually, because what happens is you do all of this work to get people on your list, right? And this goes for a lot of people I help too with course creators, right? I'm so excited. I'm going to do all this material around the launch and they're going to buy my product and they've bought your product, but then they don't contact them again until they have something new to sell. And I'm very much from a perspective of, once they're your customer, you want to create a community. You want to create long-term customers, which means you still contact them, especially if you don't have anything to sell them, because you want to continue to provide value. You want to continue to help them move to the next step of working with you. So like for the financial products, right? Maybe sending out a monthly reminder. Hey, we've created 2 or 3 new things this month in that thing you've already bought. Have you checked it out yet? Or did you know you could get this benefit from being a member of this product already?
Exactly.
That is so important. And it's such a key part of what I do for people is, creating that long-term engagement in a way that helps. And it also makes it helps people so they don't feel like they're always selling, because lists get what people call burned out, and that's if you're always offering.
It doesn't
as you
always
said, you
have
get
to be
annoyed and you
that.
unsubscribe.
Right. And, and I think that goes to my latest and greatest 3 new words, which is when I sat around, I've spent years trying to figure out how do you really define a brand? Because to me, it's the most overused, often misunderstood word around. We didn't come out of the womb knowing what a brand really is. And we have hundreds of thousands of people telling us what a brand is, and there's not really a consistency. It is about what your reputation is, but I think that comes from my new 3 words are building a connection, creating community, and building currency with your audience. And currency can turn into money, but currency is also the result of creating the connection and the community.
Absolutely. It's that long-term currency. So many companies are focused on the short term. If you're talking about solo people, if you're talking about small business, if you're talking about big business, it doesn't matter what category. So much of their marketing is focused around how can I get the next sale instead of how can I create a great experience for this customer so they want to stay with me for longer and let their friends know about me too.
Whether you are CEO of your own evolving brand or you are serving as guide and mentor to other emerging brand owners, it's important to include legal protection for valuable brand assets. Brand names and logos, as well as other intellectual property, are often the most valuable business assets a company will ever own. Registered trademarks for product names, logos, and slogans are a potent weapon against domain hijackers, cyber squatters, as well as other later entrants into the market. In my international best-selling book, Registered Trademark, The Business Owner's Guide to Brand Protection, I reveal my simple 3-step process to help select, secure, and sustain protection for your own brand dream team. And I'll share how to bulletproof your business both online and off. As my special gift to our listeners, you can receive a free copy of my book. Simply go to brandaid.com/free gift to receive your copy today, and you'll pay only for shipping and handling. I want to switch gears and ask you something in your opinion, because I've just been, as you know, we met through the Launch Your Podcast training and New Media Summit. And one of the parts of that is building out a funnel, which mine is a free offer for a free download of my book, which is for startup entrepreneurs and business owners. And so I've been in the process of wanting to create a sales page that would address the book. And so I got this copy person that was referred to me that sent me this, like one of those long sales pages. And what are your thoughts on the long sales page we've seen for years, ever since the internet started? I mean, is that still the norm, or is it changing due to short attention spans? I mean, I didn't even want to read my own sales page. It was too long.
So the answer is both. So direct response marketing, which was, those long letters you would get in the mail, that's the oldest form of marketing, and it's still successful if you have the money to send out that many messages in the actual mail. It's still a very high converting, right? That means a lot of people still buy from it. Yes. In terms of what's great for direct response. So one of the things that I think there's a misconception about in marketing is people are like, well, if I create this awesome sales page, then I'm going to get 80% of the people who land on it to buy. And the reality is, let's talk about, you asked about your funnel, right? So if you have this funnel and you want people to get onto your list, you want them to read your book, and then you want them to maybe move to a call with you or move to working with you directly, correct?
Right. Or a course.
Okay, great. So, just strict numbers, just talking about industry standards. If 100 people land on that page for the free sign up, a good conversion is 11% of them will sign up. So 11 people out of the 100 will sign up. And then from that 11, a good percentage of them to open all of your emails is 30%. So to make things easy. Yeah, to make things easy, we'll do it 4. Okay, so 30% of them are actually going to open those messages. And then of that, 30% are going to sign up for that free call. So from there, you're down to 1 person. So 100 people, and one of them gets to that free call. And those are average numbers, right? You can increase them, you can decrease them. It just depends on your industry and everything. But that's just a general number. It's a numbers game, right? So in terms of long sales pages, they still work. People still read them. But the thing is that like you, very few people read all of it. But what the long sales page is doing is people skim them. So there's short sections, each with a subhead. I'm going to scroll through, she's talking about brand protection legally. I want to know more about that. So then I'll read that section. And then the next thing is like how to sustain it. That's not relevant to me. So the longer sales pages still work because they cover lots of the different areas as to why somebody might be interested in what you do. But not everyone's going to read the full thing. They are going to skim it. And a key part to making a long sales page work, of course, is to offer many opportunities for people to then click through to the next part. So if you make somebody read to the end, you're not going to get a lot of clicks. But if halfway through, once you've introduced what the option, what the offer, what the product, what the service is, once you start offering that button, then you need to do it on a frequent basis so that people, once they've read the part they need to know, then they're ready to go to the next step. But short sales pages work too. So it's one of those things that it's the favorite phrase in marketing, and it's like the bane of pretty much every client's existence, is you just need to test it. You never know how your audience is going to respond until you test. There's a famous quote in marketing, which is, and I forget who said it, but if everything is working properly, you're not testing enough. So you want to always be testing. And if everything's working properly, you're not testing enough. So a short page could work for your audience. Long pages could work well. And the reason why long sales pages are still in existence is because they are still converting.
Well, and then jumping to, that's very helpful to know. But then it's different strategy. Now we have so many people who are running Facebook ad campaigns or other, where it's just an ad where you have limited space and it has to be a call to action, in other words. Mm-hmm. So do you get involved with that kind of writing with your clients?
Actually, yes. About half of my clients right now are Facebook ads. And Facebook ads are one of those things that are evolving and changing. It used to be short and sweet was better. Shorter, the sweeter, the better. And now they're finding, there are particular instances where longer works. So we're talking, a long Facebook ad, a good 1,000 words maybe sometimes.
Really? Wow.
I forget the exact limitation on Facebook's copy length. but it's longer than most people think it is. And the key part, of course, is the 2 lines before you have to click learn more, right? And there's all kinds of other parts to writing a successful Facebook ad, which is not only do people, you want them to click through, but you want them to share it with people. You want them to interact with the ad, even if they don't buy. And there's all kinds of other parts to running a successful Facebook ad campaign. But in terms of, just Facebook ads in general, one key part, which is the key part of any great marketing campaign in my mind, is segmentation. So you're not just creating Facebook ads for people who don't know you. You're creating Facebook ads who are maybe already on your list, or for people who have visited a page of your site but didn't sign up to your email list, or they went to go sign up for that webinar, but you want to remind them to go to the webinar. There are reminder ads you can see on Facebook for like attending a training. I mean, there's all kinds.
Well, what you're pointing out here with this discussion is that launching a brand and being heard is a real challenge. Number one, there are so many platforms and channels on which a brand, number one, has to choose from, and then they have to make the choice of where are they going to focus, right? In terms of being seen and heard to actually launch the brand.
They have to choose, but it goes back to their audience. It goes back to the audience. So you don't necessarily have to choose. I would not recommend choosing like 16 different platforms to be on, but also making sure to choose the right platform. When I first got started, I was contacted by a dentist who wanted to create advertising for Snapchat, because that was the new thing. That's where everyone was interacting. That was the fastest growing social network at the time. And I pointed out to them that the average age of a Snapchat user was 15 years old. A 15-year-old doesn't care who their dentist is, and in fact, doesn't necessarily have a choice who their dentist is. Mom and dad choose who their dentist is. So, making sure that the platform you choose to invest in does have your audience members on it.
Yeah, that's really important. So I could continue this discussion on because I find it fascinating. So what if you're a member of my audience and you are out there, and number one, I hope they will all contact Kimberly, because obviously I think she has tremendous talent and skill, and you can be of great service. But I mean, what distinguishes a great copywriter from someone who's average?
A great copywriter, it all comes down to client interaction, I think. There's especially in the freelance world, one of the first pieces of advice I ever got was, if you show up and you're prepared, you've beaten 80% of the applicants, which I found an appalling number, but apparently it's true. When looking for a copywriter, ask them about their process. Do they have a process? Ask them about how they're going to communicate with you, because communication is so important, and making sure that you're updated on your project. Like who wants to, talk with somebody once and then you have to wait 7 weeks and then they come back with the finished copy? No, you want to know the questions, you want to know what's going on, that kind of thing. So I would say what sets a great copywriter apart is a willingness to get to know the client, get to know their company. They should be asking you something about, can you fill out a questionnaire? Can we talk about your product in depth? Mm-hmm. They'll need to go through whatever it is that you're offering so they know what they're writing about. And also being able to conduct audience research. So doing voice of customer data research is what we call it. And mostly that's, creating a survey that you can send out to people who are already on your list so you can find out a little bit of how they talk about what you do. So that you can kind of get that messaging and get that voice of customer language combined with your own brand voice into your copy.
Wow, that's fabulous advice. Well, I want to thank you so much because I think it's a great conversation. Before we complete the call, I always ask 2 favorite questions.
Okay.
Number one is there something about you that most people wouldn't know that you'd like to share, either personally or professionally?
That most people wouldn't know. That one I don't know about. Well, okay. Most people don't necessarily know this. I have lived in 4 different countries. And 2 of those countries, English speakers were hard to find.
What tell us where you lived?
I lived in China for a while, and I also lived and worked in Spain for a couple of years.
Oh, what a fabulous experience.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. I sometimes miss living in Europe for sure. And I love traveling and meeting people from around the world. So it was very much a fun time for me.
Well, that's two countries. The third is the United States. What was the fourth?
I lived in New Zealand for a year.
Oh my goodness, what an adventure you've had. Were you in Auckland?
No. I spent maybe a week in Auckland. I was not a fan of Auckland. I spent the majority of my time on the South Island.
Oh, okay. Well, it's pretty nice. I've only been there once for 8 days and I didn't want to leave. It was spectacular.
Oh, yes. The nature in New Zealand is just gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, and is there something burning on your bucket list this year?
Burning on my bucket list.
You're probably too young. You're too young to have a bucket list, actually.
Oh, come on now. Everyone's got a bucket list. I would like. I don't know. I've done some of the more interesting things people put on their bucket list, like climbing a glacier or flying in a helicopter, or bungee jumping. I've done that too. But my bucket list would probably just be to meet 30 to 40 new fascinating people who I can connect with for many years to come.
Oh, that's fabulous. And that's a wonderful sentiment. It's really lovely. So how can people who wish to get to know you better reach you? And do you have any kind of free gift for our audience that you could share?
Absolutely. So right now I'm offering, basically I call it the strangers to the funnel breakthrough call. So if you already have a funnel and you want it to work better for you, I have 30-minute free strategy sessions to kind of gain clarity on what is going on in your funnel. Is it what's working, what's not, and how can we start addressing, what are some quick action steps you can take to improve the conversions, if you will. That's the marketing speak, but basically get more people into your funnel and stay there. And that's at theaudienceconverter.com/funnel-breakthrough-call, which I will send the links, of course. And if they want to just learn more about me and my services or listen to the podcast, that's at theaudienceconverter.com. And I'm always open to getting emails as well. So contact at theaudienceconverter.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kimberly. It's been a pleasure having you. And for our audience, I just will remind you to please make certain you check the show notes and you will have the links to connect precisely with Kimberly and to move forward. And it's been another episode of the Brand Aid Podcast, and we will see you next time. Kimberly Whitecamp is host of the Audience Converter podcast and helps online business entrepreneurs create an authentic marketing campaign and provides conversion copywriting to draw in the right person and the right client with the right message at the right time. You can reach Kimberly at The Audience Converter and be sure to tune into her podcast on the Apple Podcast Network. Have you protected your big ideas? Is your online business built on a strong legal and business foundation? To learn more about the legal protection you need for your online business and how to use intellectual property to leverage the growth and profitability of your business, check out our new mini-sode series, Built to Last. I'll be sharing what I've learned during my business and legal career and how you can use those lessons to build a lasting legacy for your own business. So join me for my solo flight on the Brand Aid Built to Last minisodes.
That's it for today's episode. Head on over to brandaidpodcast.com and subscribe to the show. When you subscribe, you'll instantly receive Cheryl's free special gift, Consumer Guide to Trademark Registration Services. This consumer guide will help ensure your most valuable business assets are entrusted to professionals. Make certain you're on the path to a business and brand built to last. Join our Brand Aid community on the Podopolo mobile app to win prizes, products, and cool free resources to help you grow your business. And also connect with Cheryl and your friends.
Podopolo is free on the Apple and Google App Stores. And when you go to brandaidpodcast.com/win and post a review to iTunes, you'll be entered into a drawing to win a once-in-a-lifetime VIP Brandaid opportunity to mastermind with Cheryl personally to grow and scale your business, or to select, secure, and sustain a valuable brand name for your business. That's Podopolo on the Apple and Google App Stores. Download it now.